Okay, we're going to roll right into this now and see if we can catch up, although we're not going to take away from any time for any panel. We'll probably try to shave it off at the end. But marketing, enhancing your personal brand has to be something that's of keen importance to you. And we have a panel discussion to that end, led by Mary Strauss of Galati Yacht Sales, analytical marketer, adopter of marketing innovation, creative-sided, recently turned to the boating marine industry where she was excited about using her digital marketing skills. You can read about the rest about her in the program. Mary, take it away.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for coming back from after lunch. We do appreciate it that the room is still full to hear us. I'm Mary Strauss, and I am with Galati Yacht Sales. I'm Director of Marketing. Previously, I was in the technology space for most of my career, but I actually started my career working at Regal Boats when I first got out of college. So left the boating industry early, came back, and so now, like I said, I'm at Galati Yacht Sales. I'm also on the IYBA panel for the MLS committee. So if there's anything that you heard earlier today about the MLS and you want to have your questions answered, how it's actually practically used, I'm happy to help you with that. Today we have a great panel. We're going to talk about personal branding, and we're going to give you some tips on ways to brand yourself and grow your business. But before we dive into the panel, I kind of like to know who the audience is. So how many people in the room have marketing in their title or do something marketing, graphic design, writer, copywriter, web developer? So just a handful, okay. How many people are in the business office? Do closings or sales coordinators? All right, so the rest of you must be yacht brokers. So of the yacht brokers in the room, how many of you have full-time marketing support? Okay, just a handful again. So what I want to do, I'm going to have the panel go ahead and introduce themselves. We've got a bunch of questions that we're going to go through, and then at the end we'll take your questions. So why don't we go ahead and take it away, Billy, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm Billy Pavlock, founder and CEO at Nautical Network. It's a marine-based digital media agency. We help manufacturers, dealerships, brokerage firms, especially individual brokers, create consistent quality content for the listings. And what makes us unique is we have a large social media following where we actually advertise your listings to generate more leads and more listings for yourself.
Go ahead, Abbey.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I agree with Mary. Thank you for coming back. Playing cleanup after lunch is always fun, so thank you, everyone. Abbey Heimensen, I'm the Vice President of Marketing for MarineMax, and thrilled to be here today and talk to you about branding.
All right, so let's get started. So tell me, what defines a personal brand? I mean, what is branding? You know, you hear these terms thrown around, so what exactly does branding mean?
Yeah, I think it's the best way for someone who, if you look at your client side, client-facing, it's the best way to present yourself to that potential client or even current client. In today's world, a lot of people, go to social media to almost even look at it almost like a resume. Like if I'm looking for a yacht broker, looking for someone to sell my house or sell my boat, I would go to Instagram to find out that particular broker's information and find out how their personal life is and how they market themselves. So, go ahead.
No, I would agree with that. I think that if you take a step back, though, the definition of a brand for an individual is the promise that you're going to make. What are you promising the group of people that you plan to influence? What are you telling them? If you plan to, like I said, if you plan to influence them into a purchase, or do you plan to influence them into a following? But what's your promise, and how are you going to adhere to that? And I think that's really where you start that personal brand, is that you've made a decision that I am going to adhere to this particular promise, and I'm going to stick to that through the entire thing.
So how do you do that? I mean, what are the traits of a strong brand?
Traits to a strong brand really go back to your values. And I think everybody here can probably raise their hand, and I'm going to ask you to do that as a matter of fact. Who right now, you have values?
Of course.
Oh, you please raise your hands. Paul's going to kick us all out if we don't know. But our values, right? So that's your core brand right there. You already know today what you value as a person, as a parent, as a coach, as a broker, as a marketeer. You already know what that is, right? And so when you start defining it, it's that you just need to take a moment and write it down, right? You need to step back and say, what am I really good at? And then you adhere to that. And you adhere to that one thing. We can't be all things to all people anymore. We absolutely cannot do that. Social media will teach us that, right? And I'm turning to Billy because he absolutely knows that we can't do it all on social media either.
Correct.
And so why don't we find the one thing that you want to be absolutely fantastic at? I'm going to be the best broker for boats from 35 to 45 feet. I'm going to find my market and I'm going to focus in. What do you think about it?
And I agree. And that's kind of what my next point. You can even narrow it down even further from there, right? So your niche is a yacht broker, right? So you sell yachts and boats. Now, how you would take that and your qualifications and your background, maybe being a captain or being an engineer, right? Take those qualifications and narrow down to that specific position within the industry. So if you're a captain, how do you start pushing content out there and connecting to people as being a captain? You know, a lot of people buy off people's experience and knowledge of that product. So I would trust a past captain who's selling a boat, or if I'm buying a boat from that past captain, I understand that I trust what he's given me. So kind of taking that what you enjoy and narrow it down even closer to that particular niche and taking it from there and pushing it out there.
So something we talked about, because we had a pre-call, we talked about consistency and how important consistency is for your brand. So can you go ahead and elaborate on that? Because it's not just consistency about posting, it's really more about consistency on be who you are online as you are offline. Can you add anything?
Yeah, online and offline. The success of our business, I always tell a story, was when I started this whole digital media, marketing agency only focused in the marine space. It took the consistency of me going to these boat shows, going to these events, and planting seeds. So that consistency is offline, right? I'm just in person. I'm here. I'm seeing the same faces. People are seeing my same face everywhere, and it starts making that conversation, move forward. When it comes to digital marketing, you're not going to win if you're not consistent. I mean, it comes down to the success of our business, the success of the clients' marketing that we run. It all comes down to that word consistency. As long as you consistently push something out there about your personal brand or any brand, you'll start gaining traction and momentum.
You go back to that piece about your personal brand. I think one of the greatest things that anybody in this room can hear is that they are always the same no matter where I see them. But if I see them at the boat show, or if I see them at a Little League game, I see them in the grocery store, I see them across the desk when I was doing a closing, I can trust them because they're the same person. They have the same persona on Instagram as that they have in person. And I think that is really the core of what we're doing as an industry, because we want to have that integrity and that trust. And that is a big piece of that consistency that Billy was just talking about, that you consistently have the same facade, that you aren't different. You don't appear cruel or different in person. When you have this persona of the super nice person, the super nice gal, whatever it may be, but you treat people poorly in the grocery store, you treat people poorly at your kid's baseball game or whatever it may be, that's bad, right? And again, I know we could raise hands and say that's not our core values. That's that consistency piece that we're talking about, is that you need to be the same across the board. And that's what's going to bring your clients back. That's going to be what gets you referrals. And that's going to be what helps you win.
Totally agree.
So today, anybody can really have a personal brand because of social media. Anybody that puts effort into it and is consistent about it, you can build a personal brand. So when you start first working with either a new broker or with a client, what do you tell them? How do you get them started?
Well, first things first, it's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of people that just think they can, I'm going to post on Instagram, I'm going to sell this boat. If that happened, we would all just be filthy rich right now selling boats every single day. But it's not possible. It's not an overnight success. It's going to take, again, back to the word consistency. It's just consistency across the board where you're trying to accomplish and that brand you're trying to build. So the first piece is obviously, hey, it's not going to happen overnight, but the advice I can give you is once we gather this content, right, and have something to post and publish out there, it comes down to consistency. As long as you're consistently doing this one thing, you'll again, gain momentum and traction.
And the consistency in posting as well. If you're going and talking about social media, we don't need to post 4, 5, 6 times a day. No one's that exciting, right? Sorry, no one's going to follow that. As a matter of fact, if they start seeing too much, that too is going to turn off a potential customer. But consistently good content, once a day that they know they can count on, seeing what either the new listing is, the new boat that's out there, the new destination to take your boat to, a new restaurant, but that consistent posting that I can always check back in and see what Bob's doing, and he's gonna have new information for me that I'm gonna learn from. It's a boating tip, something like that, but it's consistent each day, and you're gonna start showing up as that expert.
And I think you raise a good point about the tips. So how do brokers come up with ideas? I think that's one of the things that we struggle with the most, is trying to help people come up with the content for their brand. So how do you do that?
I mean, think about the most common questions or frequently asked questions as a broker that you receive from potential clients, even current clients. And then take these questions and turn it into a form of content that you can publish. It's the easiest form of creating content, because you already know people are wondering these items. So how do you now educate these questions, educate people on these questions that are being asked, and make you sound yourself like an expertise? So when people ask about what's the cost of owning a boat, create some content on what the cost of owning a boat is. Create some content on the insurance process, the closing process. All of those items are just pieces of content that people are not taking advantage of, that it's sitting right there in front of their face.
And to build on that, each one of you has a partner out there that is an expert in some sort of field. Right? When Mary asked you to raise your hand, you said, hey, I know a person that does marketing. I know a person that is in my business office. I know a person that is a captain. So go find that expert as well and partner up, right? You don't have to be the expert, but you're going to look brilliant because you went and found the expert. So I'm going to use a MarineMax tip here, because we have Captain Keith, and some of you probably have seen Captain Keith out on Instagram. Captain Keith he does women on water classes, he does our deliveries, and he's great to be around because he makes it seem so simple and easy to be on the water. He makes it seem like I can do this. He makes you feel really good about it. We went and found somebody that's the expert. And so you all have delivery captains, you all have someone that's teaching a class. Go find them and partner with them and have them be your special guest on your Instagram account, on your Facebook page, and spend the afternoon with them. Because and I do it very much so, I take for granted the knowledge that we have in our minds that it's easy to go boating, right? We jump in the boat, hey, it didn't start. All right, well, you go look and see if we turn the battery on. Did you have it in neutral, right? You do that. But our customers don't always feel that way. And so some of that just easy knowledge that comes to your brain that we take for granted, write it down. You've got a month's worth of content of that stuff that you know how to do when you step on your boat.
That's a great point. And one of the things at Galati, we do have a team of writers, and we go to our yacht brokers and we say, hey, what kind of questions are you getting from the customers? So then we can write a blog about it, and then we'll quote the broker in the blog, and then if they want to take that piece of content and send it out via email to their customers, or if they want to use it on their Instagram, or however they want to use it. So it's not just, it's a give and take to make sure that you do use the resources that you have available to you. You guys have a lot of answers that us marketing people need as well. And so we rely on you for that kind of expertise. So we talked a lot about social media. Can you put that slide up for a second, please? There's a lot of different platforms. And I put some of the latest stats. This is from a company called Sprout Social. This is from March of 2022. And this is social media by the numbers. It has the number of active users, the age group, the male or female, and then time spent. And I also saw another stat that people spend 147 minutes a day on social media. So can you guys help explain which platform is best for what type of content?
Of course. Obviously, you want to be relevant in these obviously categories here: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, right? But it does sound like a lot. It sounds like a lot of posting. But the beauty about social media is in content, you can take one piece of content and put it through all those channels with the same piece of content, and you're going to reach different people and different audiences on each platform. Each platform kind of has its own specialty, right? You got Facebook, which may be a more personable channel where you can post more long-length videos, interact with your personal network as well as potential clients. Instagram is just this, I would say it's the top thing right now that people are on to generate information as well as view content on listings and what's going on in the industry. Then you have TikTok, which is an interesting one because TikTok recently just surpassed Google and YouTube for the most viewership, which is just mind-blowing because it's only been relevant for the past year or so. So now with TikTok, it's just a short-form piece of content that you're viewing on a daily basis. A lot of people think it's dancing and music. No, it's a very informative channel. What people are missing that chance to get on there early and take advantage of it. Even with TikTok and the audiences on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, people think that's not your target market. You don't think your target market's on there. I'm going to tell you otherwise, it is. I can guarantee you right now, your target market, guys that are buying boats, kids that are influencing the purchase of a boat are on these channels. So if you're not putting content out there, you're missing the train.
And I would build on that is, look at your, at the largest age group there. I think it's row 2 there. I think it's really important to also, back to the consistency, if that feels overwhelming, which it can, right? There's a lot there. There's 6 different channels right there. Pick 2. Pick 2 that you can be really good at, or 3 that you could really be good at. But look at the largest age group. Who are you aiming for, right? And if that sinks in with what the demographic of the group that you're selling to or that you're marketing to, then be really good at 2 of them. Because what you don't want to be is, going back to what we were talking about, you don't want to be lackluster on all 6 and not have time to post, not be there regularly, have it just be half done, right? So if it feels more digestible to pick 2 and do it super well, then do that, and you're going to win there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my strategy. I mean, I pick one. I'm a LinkedIn person because I have different needs than you. You guys are trying to sell. I'm trying to educate myself and also stay in touch with the industry and stay in touch with other marketing people. So for me, LinkedIn is my platform of choice. So Billy and I kind of argue back and forth sometimes about this. But I pick one, and he's like, no, you need to be everywhere. And I'm like, no, that's not me. So you have to do what's comfortable for you as well. One thing I did notice is that the audience age groups are, someone's going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, what 25-year-old has money to go buy a boat? The thing is that I went and looked at the next demographic. And so if you look at Instagram, for instance, age 35 to 65, 40%, that's the next 40% group. And then on Facebook, 30% are 45 to 55-year-olds. So like Billy said a few minutes ago, your customers are on there, and they're shopping for boats, and they're looking for references. They're trying to see what their friends are doing. So that's the place where you can go build your personal brand. So keeping on the theme of social media still, are there any simple metrics that if you're on social media you should watch? I mean, not getting too deep, because I mean, I'm sure Abbey and I look at all kinds of metrics, but just what's the thing people should keep their eye out for?
No, because, I mean, starting out, especially building a personal brand, you just can't focus on metrics, right? It's because it may get you caught up in this, okay, it's not working. So again, back to consistency. No matter if it's working or not, as long as you're pushing out content that's valuable to someone or valuable to what the industry you're in, I think you, across the board, continue to publish it out there. When it comes to metrics, again, don't focus on those numbers just yet. You'll hurt your own ego there by being like, okay, I'm not getting likes, I'm not getting views. You kind of got to ignore that and get past that point of just, okay, let's just continue to publish this. I'm going to commit to this for 3 or 4 months, and to see that response I get after 3 or 4 months. A lot of guys get into this thing and they go, okay, I posted for a month this one listing and I got 0 traction. I quit. And you're like, that's not how it works. It's a long-term play, right? You're building a personal brand. If you could build it overnight, we would all be very famous right now, but we can't. So it takes consistency, it takes time. And don't look at the metrics unless, you look at viewership and all that stuff as, a success story, but it's not. You don't got to worry about any of that right now.
Yeah, and I would say that you're right, because we could all go buy followers. I mean, honestly, we can go buy Facebook followers, we can go buy Instagram followers, and look, we can inflate the numbers hugely. But really it goes back to is the engagement, right? And like you said, the likes. But even if you look at YouTube, I think that's one that we watch quite a bit. It's not so much, how many people watched, but we look at the duration of how our videos were watched. So maybe the video was only watched 100 times, but it was watched 75% of the way. Right? So you look at that duration, and was it too long? Was it too short? Was it just right? So there's little things like that you can look at that actually are wins because you've gotten the engagement. And that's bigger than that big following. Because again, this afternoon you could give me $5, I'll get you more Facebook followers. So meet you outside. No, but you can get followers. That's easy. But it's that duration and that engagement, the sharing, and then that's where it comes back to your own personal network, right? That you share that out. You share the YouTube link. to your email database. You share that out to your friends and family. You share that out to current clients and say, I know you're not looking, but you told me your next door neighbors have or got a new dock and a lift. Why don't you share this YouTube listing with them? I've got something for them, right? That's where your engagement comes in, because you've created the content, but you've shared it in a different way where they can access it immediately.
That's a good point. What about negative or negative comments, and even positive comments? How do you deal with comments? I mean, talk to me about that a little bit.
The beauty about social media is it can always be deleted, but you know, I always tell people to respond to any negative or positive comments. Again, it looks better on your part. Unless you have one that's so inappropriate or just so left field, just delete it. But regardless, try to respond to as many positive and negative comments, or even ask them a question back. Because if you ask a question back, now they're going to respond to that, and it only helps increase your engagement.
Yeah, there's sometimes you may need to take it into a direct message and you know, take the conversation offline, acknowledge, you know, thank you, Mr. Smith, we understand there was an issue, let's talk about it over here, right? And de-escalating the situation and moving it. The one thing you really don't want to do is not acknowledge it. And I think that's the more often than not, the person wanted to be heard. They just wanted to be recognized, and once you take it offline and say, how can we help you and resolve this, it was, thank you for listening, right? 9 times out of 10.
Billy, do you have a strategy on hashtags? I got asked that question before, and so I figured.
Yeah, I look at hashtags kind of like SEO, right? It's keywords, and it's a way for people to search what, you know, a specific topic they want to learn about or view, or a trending topic that's going on in the world right now or on social media. The strategy behind it, you know, there's no true strategy because there is no crystal ball when it comes to, you know, Instagram and social media and how to grow. I've seen success with posting on, when I post some of my content that's gone viral, you know, 4 to 5 hashtags are relevant to that post. But again, I look at it kind of like an SEO, you know, tactic in a way, because really what it is, it's a keyword search. You're putting a keyword to your post that people are going to search, and hopefully that pops up.
Consistency. Hashtag consistency.
Yep.
Seriously, if you are, you know, you'll see it every time. If you work for Bob's Brokerage Barn, hashtag Bob's Brokerage Barn. Just keep putting it on there every single time, because people are going to start searching that. Man, Bob's got a lot of great listings. I'm gonna start following that, because on Instagram, you pull it up. There's at the very top, you can follow hashtags. So you're like, I love puppies. Hashtag puppies. So in your feed, you'll start seeing puppies. I love Bob's Boats. We're going to start seeing Bob's Boats, right? So it's that piece of it that people are following, that you can start adding those hashtags to other things, like Sunday Fun Day, right? You post consistently on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, the coolest boat, and you hashtag Sunday Fun Day. People have that as something they follow. So on Sundays, you're going to start seeing people liking your posts and seeing that because they're following Sunday Fun Day.
So
It's fun.
It is.
On Instagram, I follow Sam Adams Beer. And I don't drink beer, but I follow Sam Adams because their marketing is genius. And so I'm always looking for good marketing ideas. Do you have people that you follow or accounts that you guys follow? Even, it doesn't have to necessarily be in the yachting space, or it could be in the yachting space, that you would recommend?
Yeah, to stay up to date with, again, social media is always evolving, and you know, things are always trending. You know, one guy that I always looked up to growing up and kind of what got my business sparked was Gary Vaynerchuk. And you know, people think he's annoying, people think he's, you know, abrasive, but to be honest, he's the only guy that I've seen be at the top when it comes to relevant and what's going on and be right about things. And then when I knew that he was the right person to listen to is when you start listening to other gurus in the marketing space that just take his lines or take his advice and put it out there in their own piece of content. So at the end of the day, if I was to pick one person to watch and view to understand what's going on when it comes to marketing, Gary Vaynerchuk's the one guy that kind of stood out to me the whole time.
Yeah, Gary is a leader by far. And again, talk about consistent.
Correct.
That message does not change.
It is not.
I follow several to stay relevant with what we're doing in our industry. Obviously, I follow the majority of you in here. And of course, outside of our industry, I follow a lot of car companies because I love to see what they're doing, because a lot of times they're cutting edge and have different things. I follow a particular real estate agent out of Alabama, and I can share with it later. Her name is Amy. And her particular strategy is that she is just absolutely outrageous. And she's just absolutely taken her outrageousness to a different level, because she is being very honest as a real estate agent. And I thought I wanted to share that with you all today because she's being honest about what's going on in the industry. Hey guys, everything is high right now. The houses are selling fast. You're not going to be able to make that kind of offer on these houses in this market, in this area. She's just really, really honest. And her following has trended way up because people are following her honesty and her transparency. And again, for this group of people here, that honesty, that transparency, what we talked about when we first started here, your brand, right? It goes back to that because people that are nowhere near Alabama are following her. She's got 1.3 million followers because she is being honest about what was happening in the real estate business during the last 2 years.
So we all want to, we're here to learn more sales tactics. We want to sell boats. So how does having a strong brand help you sell more yachts?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's kind of a representation of you, right? So if you can publish content, again, I'm reflecting on social media right now, but you can publish content that can connect with certain boat owners or potential boat owners. There's obviously a win there, right? If you go to Florida State or go to Florida, go Gators, by the way, and the client goes to Florida, there may be a connection there right away. And another thing about it too is the Instagram's open to anyone, so you can go DM any particular person you want in the world right now and maybe get a response. When I was a past yacht broker, one thing I would do is I knew this CEO or this high wealth individual was a potential boat owner. I would shoot him a DM and just give him, after reviewing his LinkedIn review and his personal social media, which is great because it's public, you can take connections from what he's done or interests that he has and hit him with a DM that restates that interest or that connection you have with him and hopefully get a response back. Again, it's the whole world at your palm of your hand with social media. What's just crazy about it? You can reach out to anyone you want in the world.
And then how do you go outside of social media, right? Because that's a huge space, but it's also a very cluttered space. Because we can get a lot of DMs and you can get a lot of, we all do, right? Think about, you were talking about your LinkedIn. I can go check my LinkedIn right now and there's gonna be 25 unread messages in there right now from people that are trying to sell me something, right? And I go through it and I see, okay, well, do I have a connection with them? Okay, I did meet them. I know them in person, and then you try to, bring that down. So if you think outside of social media and you think outside of what you're doing in your communities, right? And you start honing in on that as well, right? How are you the expert in the area that you've chosen? I mentioned that earlier, right? Focus on what you're good at and then consistently focus on that. And if you find your niche or that I have this particular niche in this particular boat brand, I'm really good at selling 14-foot Glastrons. That was my family's first boat, by the way. So if anybody sells those, hit me up later, no. But I'm particularly good at this market, and so I'm going to focus on that, but I'm going to talk about that in my community, and I'm going to go to my chambers business after fives, and I'm going to build relationships within my community, and I'm going to be on local boards, and I'm going to be able to bring my brand to them because I'm bringing my values and my brand to other things in my community. And I think that's where you start building that personal brand, that they know you, they see you out there. They don't just see you online, but again, they're seeing you in the community. And if you sit on a board and you spend time with like-minded people that are looking for that next thing in their life, which is that next boat, they're going to look at you because they're like, I've spent a lot of time with Billy. He's a great guy. I see how he treated the people in our community. I see how he's treated people on our board or whatever it is that you're setting on. Yeah, I'm going to hit him up because I know him and I know his name. When you show up places consistently and people get to spend time with you and they know you, they're going to look to you as their expert. And really, if you think about it, again, you all showed up today. This is what a great turnout for our summit today. You all showed up today. There are a lot of people that didn't show up, right? And so you have that one up already in your communities. You show up. You show up for the little leagues. You show up for the boards that you sit on. You show up for volunteerism because that's who you all are. So you're already being viewed in your community as someone that shows up and is consistently there. So you're going to be consistently there for your customer. And that's huge. I know that promise that they made to me is going to be kept because I see them do it in everything in their life.
That's a great point. So we built the brand, we sold the boat. So how do you stay in front of the customer and keep your brand in front of that customer after the sale?
I mean, I can answer this
Sure,
one too.
sure.
There's a lot of tactics you can do. There's some fun stuff you can do, right? Before you even market this, I mean, before you even got this listing and sold it, you obviously had content created on this boat. So like small things is like, how can you then gift this client that bought a boat, maybe a canvas picture of his boat or a gift bag for his boat. I mean, all those small things reflect obviously your personal brand. And then how do you get that earned media, which is the biggest form of content? And that earned media is getting those reviews and referrals from that client after selling a boat. So maybe sit down with that client on a Sunday boat ride with them and say, hey, let's just talk about the boat or the buying process with using me and get that piece of content out there.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much away from James's session yet this afternoon, but it is really spending time with your clientele and that follow-up, because it's not over when the paper is signed. And I love the session this morning of, when is it really your boat, right? Because you think about that, it never stops, right? And that's the thing that we have to remember, is that they've purchased the boat, but what happens in the next week, in the next month, in the next year? What are you doing with that client to keep them in your database and have them not only return to you, but have them refer people to you? And it's the consistency of the communication with them. Don't let them go. Just think about yourselves. Again, we all love that touch of communication, right? We all purchase things. We buy cars, we buy, luxury items. And when they call you and say, hey, Abby, how's the car? You still love it? Oh, yeah, I do. Wow, thanks for calling. I probably could stop in there and see maybe they have something else, right? When you get that feeling of being appreciated for what you've done, for making that purchase, for being part of that family, it absolutely changes the game, and you're going to remember that. You think about it. How was your experience? If something is really bad, I call it the dining room table. If something was really bad, you're going to sit down at the dining room table with your family and friends, and you are going to tell them about it, right? And if it was really awesome, you're going to sit down at the dining room table and tell them about it. If you just had a mediocre experience, it was fine. The boat's fine. Nothing special happened. It didn't break. It's fine. You're not going to tell anybody. When you have that exceptional experience, you're going to tell everybody. And that's what we can do to make a difference.
All right, I think on that we're going to wrap up, because I don't think you can say anything else better than that.
We can
Thank
do some
you, Abby.
questions if you guys want.
Yeah, of course, questions.
From the audience. There's got to be somebody here who's got a question for this panel of experts.
We got one up here.
Oh, okay. Other than, how many times does your shoe guy call you every week, Abby?
Oh, he loves me.
Great discussion. Thank you so much. I use social media a ton. One thing that I'm always torn about is profile to page and engagement. And I know you can grow your page a lot bigger than your profile, but I don't get as much engagement from my page as I do my profile. So how do I make that change to grow my audience much bigger that is available, but I don't get the same engagement, even if I do put it on my profile and back and forth? So do you have any recommendations?
When you mean profile and page, like what do you mean there?
So you have a personal profile,
Okay.
and then you can start like your page,
Business page.
and which it could be the same brand, 'cause it could be still me. But I don't know how to grow that as much as I am engaged on my profile.
Yeah, I mean, one success I've always had was reaching out to your personal network first, right? How do you get your personal network involved as much as possible, right? Your family members, your friends, and how do you get their support first to grow that page and have them share that business page of your own? Obviously, that sparks more engagement across their following and their networks out there. And then I think the next thing is asking more questions, or asking call to action to have people follow you. Reaching out to people and say, hey, make sure you follow my business page, or going to other niche-specific channels or pages out there and just comment on posts and say, hey, if you like boating content, come check out my other business page. It's simple stuff like that. Again, it just takes the ability to go out there and take action and go out there and spend time on engaging other people's posts to get people back to your site.
Mm-hmm. And I think the time piece is important there, because social media isn't just a a fun thing or fun to do, or that's a waste of time. We've proven, and you all have proven too, social media is a very important tool now, and you're using it wisely. So spending time doing just that, of going out and liking as your profile or liking as your business page, and going out and commenting as your business page and sharing that, it does take time, right? It takes time to go through and like posts, and it takes time to find them. But you're going to see that actually does come back to you. And it's worth your time, because this really is a tactic. This isn't just a fun thing anymore. It really is a tactic.
Mm-hmm. No more questions. Oh, sorry about that.
Hi, I was wondering what your thoughts were on Google AdWords and possibly running geo-targeted campaigns around specific zip code areas relative to locations of yacht brokerage firms and where they may be, or marinas or so forth, so that people who might be looking for a specific boat, as an example, your ad would come up immediately and it would be seen. And I wanted to get your input on that.
First.
Sure. So Google AdWords, it's a big world. So that's an excellent question. First of all, you do absolutely have to set your own boundaries on what your budget is going to be. Because the sky's the limit. You can, and depending on if you have an agency that's going to help you do it, or if you're doing it yourself, it's more money you add, the more clicks you're going to get, right? So you gotta be careful with that. What you really need to do is hone in and decide exactly what your goal is and what you're wanting to have the outcome be. So in your particular case, let's say you do want to sell a particular model, or you really want to focus in on a particular boat brand. So then that's what you need to do. Try not to spread it way too thin, and try not to just do $5 here, $5 there, because it's not going to get you anywhere. But if you're really focused in and you have the budget to do it well in a particular area, like you mentioned, I want a geofence 33767. I want this boat to show up in the Tampa Clearwater area for this amount of time, and this is the keywords I'm going to go after. Then you're going to have success. But if you're trying to spread yourself way too thin, you're trying to do the entire state of Florida for one boat listing, and you have, $100 worth of budget, it's just not going to work and not be worthwhile. And you may have better luck in other places, right? Because we can do a lot of things, and we talked a lot about social media today, but Facebook advertising and YouTube advertising is relatively inexpensive. And you can really target in. You can get down to those demographics that Mary showed up on the screen. You can get down to age groups, zip codes, what their likes are, the pages that they follow. So if you have a limited budget, I highly suggest looking at those other opportunities before trying to dive into Google AdWords.
Mm-hmm. And another point to that, which I agree on everything you're saying, a good way to get going on things is see how an ad is going to perform. You call it A and B testing. Mm-hmm. So how do you take two pieces of content? Maybe it could be, the same piece of content, same video, same photo, but maybe change the text or the keywords in that messaging. Maybe test those two ads, put $100 per piece per both of them, and run it for a week. After a week, go back and be like, okay, this one surpassed it. Yep. I'm going to now double down on that one ad and see how that performs. A lot of people have success when testing two ads and taking one and rolling with it.
Yeah, and both YouTube and Facebook will let you do that on their business manager. And again, relatively inexpensive for what you receive.
I do have kind of a success story. Again, back when selling boats, I ran a $50 Facebook ad, and I sold an $800,000 boat off the Facebook ad.
Oh, there you go.
So talk about ROI. I mean, that's it works. That's why, I say here, exciting, get goosebumps, because it's real. People say it's impossible. I'm sitting here thinking, no, I've done it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good. All right. Well, I guess we're done. I guess we're ready for the next.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, Abby, Billy. That was effervescent. Especially perfect for just after lunch and all that. So Paul asked me to remind everybody about the